for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Ashley Grams. Today marks 1 year since the Hamas-led attack on Israel that killed roughly 1,200 people and triggered the ongoing war. Jewish groups in Portland took time yesterday to remember those who've died over the last year. KGW's John Adams brings us more after speaking to members from 2 local groups.
A worship service was held by the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland on Sunday night to remember those killed 1 year ago when Hamas fighters carried out a terror attack in Israel. Many others were taken hostage.
There are still around 100 hostages that are being held in captivity in the most horrific conditions in Gaza.
The October 7th attacks have led to retaliation from the Israeli military, which has caused thousands of Palestinian civilian deaths in Gaza. Another gathering held by Jewish Voice for Peace is calling into question the actions of the Israeli military.
We believe in JVP that every human life is sacred, and it is especially an atrocity to kill civilians.
The organization is calling on the U.S. government to stop sending military funding to Israel because of the bombings.
Because we are American Jews, and our tax dollars are going to fund and arm the Israeli military, we are complicit in the genocide.
The group is also asking the state of Oregon to divest in Israeli bonds as military activity expands to Lebanon and Syria.
Israel has made it clear it is not about the hostages, it is not about Jewish safety, it is about expanding their military hold in the region, and that's going beyond Palestine now too.
Horenstein disagrees and says the military is doing its best to protect the state of Israel against its adversaries.
It is tragic when innocent people die. Unfortunately, this is all because of a war that Hamas imposed on Israel.
John Adams, KGW News.
The death toll from Hurricane Helene continues to rise. According to the Associated Press, at least 227 people have died. On Friday, Pacific Power deployed crews and 20 trucks from the Northwest to Georgia, where thousands of customers are still without electricity. Helene is now the deadliest hurricane to hit the U.S. since Katrina devastated Louisiana and Mississippi in 2005. Making matters worse, Florida is bracing for a direct hit from another storm. This is a look at the predicted path of Hurricane Milton, which is now a Category 5 hurricane. It's expected to make landfall as at least a Category 3, hurricane on the Gulf Coast of Florida sometime Wednesday night. NBC's Marissa Parra is in Tampa with the latest.
I'm Marissa Parra reporting from Tampa and Hillsborough County, which is one of the over 50 counties under a state of emergency in Florida. We are seeing mandatory evacuations up and down the Gulf Coast. Governor Ron DeSantis is expecting a mass amount of people to evacuate. They're actually thinking this could be the largest amount of evacuations that we have seen in the state of Florida since Hurricane Irma in 2017, when nearly 7 million people took to the roads. Another thing that the state is keeping a very close eye on are those debris piles left over from Hurricane Helene. Remember, these are communities that are left vulnerable from that hurricane just over 1 week ago, and even Hurricane Debbie in August. So a big concern here are those debris piles, which Governor Ron DeSantis says is going to be a 24/7 job to clear. Normally, it would take months to clear that kind of debris, which of course poses a risk as projectiles. Now they have a matter of days.
And that was NBC's Marissa Parra reporting. Chris, just incredible how quickly this hurricane has intensified.
Yeah, I mean, it was just yesterday that it became a hurricane, right? And check this out. The other interesting thing about this is that the National Hurricane Center considers a pressure drop of 42 millibars in 1 day in 24 hours. They consider that rapid intensification. At last check here, Milton has nearly doubled that. The central pressure now is down to 911 millibars, and it's continuing to drop. So that's now putting this into the category of some of the deepest, lowest pressures ever recorded in the Gulf or the Atlantic Basin. This is likely to interact a little bit with the Yucatan Peninsula, and as you saw that forecast track from NBC, it's likely to go through some changes in intensity as it works its way off to the north and east. But in any event, there's a hurricane watch in effect for much of the west coast of Florida heading into Wednesday afternoon and into early Thursday morning. So our thoughts are with them as that storm continues to churn in the Gulf. Meanwhile, our weather completely the opposite. It is pristine, beautiful out there right now. 66 degrees at lunchtime. We're up to now 69 in Beaverton, 67 Woodland, and 69 last check in Salem. Our plan for the day does still include temperatures getting into the lower 80s. I'll be honest, I think we're just a little off the mark from where I thought we would be earlier this morning for right now, but 80s still seemed like a slam dunk this afternoon for all of us. The record high for today is 85, so we're going to be potentially close to that, but there is a big cool down coming tomorrow, and we'll get into that coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Chris. Well, in your local headlines this afternoon, Portland police are investigating a shooting downtown that left one man dead. Shortly after 2:30 yesterday morning, officers say they heard gunshots near Southwest 3rd and Burnside. That's where they found a man dead in a parking lot. The suspect or suspects left before officers arrived. And in Kelso, one person is dead and 3 children were taken to the hospital after a car veered off a road and fell 15 feet down an embankment. It happened around 11 yesterday morning near North Pacific Avenue and Ostrander Avenue. A passing driver called 911. A child climbed out of the wreck and waved down first responders. Firefighters had to cut 2 people out of the car. And the mother of a first grader in Tualatin is suing the district for $350,000 after a teacher allegedly slapped her child. The lawsuit alleges the teacher at Byram Elementary slapped the student at least 6 times last December to punish him for standing on a chair. The teacher then told school leadership and was put on administrative leave, though ultimately was permitted to return to work. She has not been criminally charged. The district declined to comment. Portland police are asking for help finding an 80-year-old woman who went missing yesterday morning. You can see her there on your screen. Anne Marie Durgin left her home in East Portland driving a black Ford Fusion with a Minnesota Vikings license plate on the back. She was on her way to the Wood Village Fred Meyer. If you see Durgin, call 911. And starting today, Battleground police will begin wearing body cameras, following in the footsteps of other law enforcement agencies in Clark County. Thomas Schultz has the story.
Over the past few years, footage like this,
can I get additional units here, please,
from a Vancouver police officer has become more common as more and more agencies add body cameras. Now, Battleground police are embracing the change.
We're going to be rolling out our body-worn cameras. It's a long time coming.
Dennis Flynn is the Battleground police chief. He's held the role for 6 months and says body cams, paid for in part through state funds, will enhance transparency.
The truth is, the public pays for a service, and they have a right to know what it is that we do.
Flynn says body cameras will show evidence of moments law enforcement works well and when it doesn't.
There may be times that we slip and we don't deliver the service that we intended to. Certainly we got to use the body-worn cameras to document that and say, hey, how can we improve?
And this is part of a larger shift. In 2020, our sister station in Seattle reported less than 40% of Washington law enforcement wore body cams. None in Clark County wore them. Now, almost all do.
They change when there's a push to change, right?
Bryce Peterson is a criminal justice professor. He says the Northwest was slow to embrace body cams. Portland was one of the last large city police bureaus to add them, though he says cameras do create changes.
Complaints do go down. So when officers wear body cameras, committee members are less likely to lodge complaints against officers.
In Flynn hopes more transparency builds trust.
But if you have a critical incident, I think the public is going to have an expectation that this was captured. If you don't, how do you explain that?
In Battleground, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
Well, a man who lost his business in a fire earlier this year is now supporting a new venture. Chris Shimamoto owned Barrio, a bottle shop significantly damaged alongside other small businesses by a fire at Portland Mercado back in January. Since then, Chris says he struggled to pick himself back up until he met the owners of Collective Oregon Eateries, who were about to open their new project, Publican Beer Room. Last week, Publican held its grand opening with Shimamoto tending the bar.
There was like hundreds of people that came out, so it just, there's nothing that heals your heart more than like genuine connection with people.
A lot of them was like coming for Chris, and we're really happy for that. We're really happy to have Chris, but also we love the fact that Chris is so authentic and genuine, and it's hard to meet someone like that.
Chris says he's thankful for all the community support that he's received.